Split pea soup's on the menu today on Cooking with Chef Jeff. Now, I can hear you saying it right now. You know, when I started this channel, I said I'm going to be doing foods that are favorites in my family. So I can hear you. What am I doing split pea soup? Well, you know what? Fortunately, I'm blessed with some very, very open-minded eaters for kids. And my son especially loves pea soup. My late grandfather-in-law loved it also, but we'll get to him later. So what we have here, the ingredients for our soup to start with, we have our friends carrots and onions, and I've already cut those up. And you don't have to do very small or even very precise pieces, because the neat thing about this soup is it's going to be pureed. So I've got 4 carrots here, I've got 4 medium onions, I've got about a pound of ham, and I've got here about a pound of bacon as well. That's one of the things, besides flavoring the soup, the bacon is also going to add some protein to it. And it's also going to supply our fat for sauteing our veggies. So to dice that up, we want really big dice. So what I've done is I've cut the pieces in half through here. I've cut it in half lengthwise, and then I'm just going to go down and just make really big, coarse cuts. Okay? Because as this cooks down, it's going to shrink a lot. Okay? So I'm going to finish dicing this up, and then I've already got my soup pot preheating on the stove. We'll hit it with a little bit of nonstick spray for insurance, and then we'll start cooking our bacon. All right, we're over here at our stove. We've got our pan preheating over medium-ish heat. And before we start cooking anything, even though the pan is supposed to be nonstick, just for a little bit of added help there, we're going to put a little bit of nonstick spray in. Okay. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and put our bacon in. And you know your pan is heated enough when you hear it start talking to you. I'm going to go ahead and start rendering our bacon here. You don't have to stir it constantly, but stir it often. And it all depends on how crispy you want it and how high your heat is. So I'm probably going to render this for the next about 10 minutes or so. So once it is at a point where we're ready to move on to the next step, we'll be right back. I'm going to cut in here. This has been about 5 minutes since we put the bacon on, and it's just going to show you where the progress is. And while we do want the bacon to develop a little bit of a texture, you know, as it cooks, what we're most interested in is rendering off all the fat that's on the bacon. So we're going to use that with our veggies here in a little bit. So this is all the hard you want it going, just nice and sizzling, nothing too fast, nothing too loud. In fact, I've even turned my stove down a little bit since I put the bacon on, because we just want it to get as much of that pork fat off of there as we can before the meat burns. All right, it's been about 15 minutes, and our bacon is nicely cooked down, nicely rendered off. So, and even though it's not going to stay crispy, we did want our bacon bits to get crispy because a tremendous amount of flavor is going to give our soup later. Okay? So, we have all this bacon grease, which is cool because we're going to use it to saute our vegetables. So we're going to put in our carrots, and we're going to go ahead and break the rules a little bit and add our onions now as well, because we're going to be cooking this ultimately to the point of pureeing. So, I'm going to get it in here. We're going to start folding our vegetables and bacon into one another. Okay. And at the same heat on the stove, we're going to go ahead and let this start cooking down for 5, 6, 7 minutes or so, just to the point of where the carrots are starting to get soft. And then we're going to add our peas and our water and start cooking them down. All right, a little time has passed, and you come in and see here our onions are nice and wilted down, and our carrots are starting to get soft. So at this point, we're going to add the next few ingredients. So the first thing is I've got 2 pounds of split peas here, and these are green. You can use yellow as well, but we're just going to pour those in and just stir them into our stuff. And the next step is going to be about a gallon of water. Now, I might have chosen a pan that's a little on the small side for this, but we're going to go ahead and try it anyway. May not all fit. We're going to go about that much. So we're going to go about 3.5 quarts of water here. And that's fine. We have that. Put that in there and stir it up gently. And the last thing to add before we walk away for a little while is, remember back when we made omelets last episode, I said keep that ham bone because we may use it for something else later. Well, this is that something else later. So we've got our ham bone from our omelets, and we have our ham bone from the ham we just diced up here a little bit ago. These have bone marrow in them, which helps give stocks, you know, a kind of a yummy mouthfeel. It's also what gelatin is traditionally made out of. So it's really good for soups. So I'm going to go ahead and drop these into the soup to let it cook along with the peas and the vegetables and stuff, and we'll fish them out later before we puree the soup. So now at this point, I'm going to turn my stove up a little bit, and really how long this takes to cook is up to the peas. I mean, being a natural product, they're going to kind of do their own thing. What I can tell you though, you want to speed up the process a little bit, is go ahead and get a lid and put that over top of your pot. This will probably take 30 to 40 minutes to cook. We'll check on it regularly and we'll let you know when we're ready to do the next thing. All right, we've been cooking for a little while here, and as you see, get in here with our spoon. Our peas are pretty much disintegrated. Everything else is starting to get nice and soft. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the stove off, and the next thing we need to do is get our ham bones out, because we don't want to be pureeing stuff and have the bones get caught in our blender. So there's two ways you can do this. One is with a slotted spoon, or two, if you have one of these, this is called a spider. It's basically a strainer on a stick, used a lot in deep frying, but it's really good for getting into stuff like this and getting large amounts of stuff and being able to filter through. So what I'm going to do here, there's one. Get our first bone out, and then take another pass and see if we can find. There's our second one. Okay, so we're going to get that out of there. See how the stuff in the middle is kind of melted away into the soup. That was where the marrow is. That's what we want. Okay. So our next step, we need to puree it. So the easiest way to do this is first get it off the hot burner so it's not oiling up onto me. And what we're going to use here is one of these guys. It's called an immersion blender, often referred to as a stick blender. Certain chef on TV a long time ago called it the boat motor. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it down in here, make sure it's in the soup, and you're going to turn it on and just kind of go back and forth and let it get up and under and stir it around as you're pureeing. It's going to take a few minutes because it's going to get all those carrots and stuff in there. So we're going to go ahead and puree this all smooth, and then we'll finish up and season it. All right, everything is nice and pureed. Now at this point, let's check our consistency. This looks pretty nice. Thick enough to coat your spoon, but not too thick. If you find it's too thick, at this point you can go ahead and add some water to it, no problem. If you think it's too thin, you can go ahead and put it back on the heat and let it reduce a little more. But I'd caution against that, because as it sits, it's going to get thicker. So if you're going to be storing this for later, I would go ahead and err on the thinner side. Okay? So now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and add our ham. There's enough heat from the soup here, we don't really need to worry about cooking this anymore. It's going to heat this ham through just fine. And now that that's in there, we're going to go ahead and season this a little bit. So, 3 things we're going to season with. 1 being pepper, 2 being a little bit of salt, and 3 is going to be our friend chicken base from the chicken noodle soup episode. We're going to use a little bit more of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the base, because that's going to give us a lot of our salt. We already have salt in here from the bacon and a little bit from the ham too. We're going to get a little more from this, and so we may or may not add any actual salt once we get there. So we're going to put in a bit of that, and we're going to put in a nice bunch of pepper here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and stir this all together. The chicken base is going to take a little bit of time to dissolve, and as soon as that's all done, we'll give it a taste. All right. So we've mixed our salt and pepper in. I'm going to give her a quick taste here. Yeah, needs more. So we're going to go ahead and add a bit more of our base. Okay. We're going to go ahead and add some actual salt to it. Not too much though. Don't want to overdo it. And we're going to add quite a bit more pepper. Alright. Stir all this together. So at the beginning I mentioned my late grandfather-in-law, who absolutely loved split pea soup. It was his favorite soup to eat. We made it for him often, and he would actually go order it at restaurants. You know, one thing about him, brilliant man, But he had a tendency to mix his words up, which is a trait that he passed on to my wife, so we get a lot of entertainment from that. But he was ordering this in a restaurant one day, and he read the menu, he looked at the waitress, and he said, "I like a bowl of slit sea poop." And the waitress looked down and goes, "Say what?" And he thought about it and realized what he did, and he did it again. He said, "I like a bowl of split pea poop," not realizing that he was really meaning split pea soup, but he was just getting his words mixed up. So now that we've got our seasoning here, I'm going to give her one more taste. And that definitely doesn't taste like that. This tastes excellent. Thank you so much for watching the video. Do give it a like and a comment. Subscribe to my channel and click the little bell next to the subscription spot so you can get notifications of next time I post a video. If you'd like to make this at home, there's going to be a recipe in the description. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.